So last week, okay, we kind of started working ass backwards from butterfly guard. We got kind of like backed into the corner here of playing reverse E-guard, or we chose to go here. Again, we could always force this, okay? Let's basically this week just switch hips, all right? So this week, we're here, okay? Let's kind of look at this from the same scenario that our partner's being like kind of forwards aggressive, maybe looking for, you know, body lock grips, stuff like that, okay? Now, very important to note when I'm playing a butterfly guard here, okay? I am trying to connect my feet and my shins to make good connections here, okay? But if this is a situation where he's body locking, going just front on like this, yeah, it might not be the best thing, especially if he's bigger than me, right? So instead, okay, little tip here that we can borrow from our guard retention week when we did seated guard is to actually take the opposite foot and check the hip. So if he tries to come in now, it's difficult, and we can use this to pivot off to the side, okay? So you guys see I'm on my right hip, opposite of the overhook, okay? Now, once I get my overhook here, okay, I want to really put some good leverage behind this. So I want to make sure like I'm really lifting my fist up as much as I can, okay? I'm keeping my shoulder higher than his, and I'm keeping good pressure on this weight here. All right. I'm doing a couple things as I do this. First of all, head position. It can be more on the inside, like forehead to the side, okay? And then this hand, I'll be monitoring here and be ready to hand fight so we can start attacking sweeps right away, okay? And guys, we're working off the overhook this week because if this is a body lock situation and I pivot here and go under, like a lot of times you end up with a weak underhook here or no underhook at all, okay? So a lot of times it's gonna be pretty logical to just take the overhook, okay? Now, first half of class here, we're gonna look at different hand fighting scenarios with this far hand, okay? First one, let's assume he's doing the defensive neutral thing where his elbow's tight, avoiding submissions, but his hand's floating, okay? Just like we would in close guard, we can take our free hand, rotate our palm in, and find that wrist and pin it to his chest, okay? To reinforce that, I'm gonna take my overhook hand and I'm just gonna grab my own wrist like a kimura grip, all right? What this does is it essentially stops the hand fight from continuing. So if I just hold this here, he's gonna pummel his hand. Yeah, we're gonna keep going there. If I close that on his chest, if he tries to pummel now, very, very difficult, okay? Now, let's just use this to set up our normal hook sweep here, our Sumi Gaeshi, all right? So once we have this in place, again, when we do a normal hook sweep, we're not falling backwards, we're falling to the side of our non-butterfly hook. Okay, that'll start to get us underneath him and load his weight. And guys, remember when we butterfly sweep, we're not kicking this leg. That's a very weak motion. You can actually hurt yourself if you do that. Instead, what you're doing is with your right foot, you're pushing off the mat, okay? And as you push off the mat, you continue to walk and lift with this hook. Now, this is different from last week, okay? We're not overhead sweeping, and I have control of both of his arms here, okay? So it's really hard for Ulysses to push on my hips. So with this variation of Sumi Gaeshi, it's very logical to actually step over and go to mount. All right, so the motion here when we're going for a Sumi Gaeshi, which is sideways, okay? Not like last week where we went over the shoulder. We will be looking at that in a second. Okay, here, to the side, toes on the mat. And that foot on the ground is, that's why we call it a drive foot. That's what's driving through the sweep, okay? Is some variations of the overhook, okay? So for now, you guys can take his far lapel and feed it to this hand. There's a lot of good submission opportunities off of this too. If that's ever a far reach or you can't get it, you can also grab your own lapel, okay? The lapel grips are optional though, okay? Similar to last week too, it is okay in some scenarios here. Since instead of overhooking, actually grabbing his belt, okay? That functions as an overhook as well. But just remember, this might not always be, you might not always be able to grab this. He might not have his belt on, okay? And then sometimes we just need a tighter connection. So bare bones, like that'll be your overhook, okay? Hand up, elbow up, shoulder up, okay? I go to sweep him and he like pops up to his feet. Okay, if he slid his weight into his toes, guys, I'm just gonna keep popping here, okay? So So if you feel like they're standing up, but they're still kind of loaded, okay, you can use that little hopping step to finish the sweep. Elbows in, we're in our seated guard, we're posting on the hip, scooting towards the overhook side, getting a nice tight bite here, okay? Remember guys, head inside, like forehead to the ear basically, okay? We're gonna assume right now that his hand's off the mat, maybe he's actively hand fighting, and we're gonna catch a wrist pin here, okay? And we're gonna figure four, okay? Remember the whole time we're doing this, we're really jacking up that whizzer, that overhook, okay? We're falling towards our drive leg, and then from here we're using that drive leg to push off the mat, and then we'll follow into the mount. When you hit this with this grip, okay? By the way, you can do this without grabbing your own wrist. You can just stuff this, nothing wrong with that. But when we do have it like this, okay, there are situations here where when you guys come up to the mount, okay, you can start feeding this right into a lot of the mount submissions we worked last year. Again, first hand fighting scenario, we're pinning and we were here, okay? He's not always gonna make it that easy, all right? Another thing he might be doing here is framing on the inside of your leg, all right? That makes it really hard to pin wrists, but he is offering perhaps the most standard Sumi Gaeshi grip here, which is basically we're doing double overhooks now, okay? So I'm grabbing the tricep, I'm using my elbow to roll his forearm and wrist to my rib cage, and we're going here. Okay, so theoretically here, if he doesn't do anything, you guys will literally just hit the same movement again, okay? Okay. So that's the hook sweep, the Sumi Gaeshi, okay? Another supplemental attack we have here is what we call a short hook sweep, okay? Or a Hiza Guruma. So from here, a lot of times what can happen is he can defend the sweep by tripoding, okay? So he's gonna have weight into his toes and he's almost gonna like plant his forehead on the mat here. Okay. So guys, again, be honest about this. Still try Sumi Gaeshi here, okay? If he lets me, I'll just keep hopping and I still will finish the first sweep, okay? But there will be a time here where when he stands up, his base is so good that doesn't work. That's when you're gonna take your bottom foot off of the floor and you're gonna attach to anywhere from above his knee to down to his ankle here, okay? I'm gonna recommend if you have the ability to go above the knee, because it will be a little bit stronger, okay? Now we're gonna go for a very low impact sweep here. Imagine he's just a table and you're kicking one of the legs out of the table. Just make the table fall over, okay? So watch my right leg, I'm just gonna extend. Once that goes out, I'll use the butterfly hook to guide, and then we can finish the same way. With any variation of these sweeps, when I go to start to lift him here, I cannot let this knee go inside of his body. Okay, I'm gonna get side smashed here. We talked about that last week with reverse Z guard as well. Don't let my knees collapse, yeah. All right, so when he comes up, guys, to the best of your ability, even when you kick this out, you see the bottom of my foot, I keep it on the bottom of his, or on his knee basically, okay? So let's go back. Like especially if I don't stretch him out all the way there, okay? If I kick this out and then take my foot off, what are you gonna do? Yeah, he's gonna find some sort of base again, all right? So keep that foot there, all right? Now, when he's starting to fall here, this foot, if I take this out, same thing, he's gonna find base again. All right, how about now? Okay. Guys, I don't release the feet in the sweep until I'm already on top of them. All right, so we're here. I plant off to the side. Remember guys, we're playing butterfly guard, feet inside. Don't have your feet outside, all right? Now this time, instead of letting me pin the wrist, he's solid here. So I go for the tricep. Tricep, and make sure you guys are trapping here. So even though he's giving us a response here, guys, don't be lazy with the second overhook. Really still trap this arm and force him to tripod. That'll make attacking him way easier here, okay? So here, we off balance, he stands, okay? All I do is take this foot off the floor, push this leg out, and then come to the top. We're playing a ranged butterfly guard here, and we're hitting things like Sumi Gaeshi, okay? Just like a basic scissor sweep too. We ever notice that he has a wider base? Guys, with that same idea, you can also slide right into that short hook sweep and use that to pick them out as well. That short hook sweep, again, we are working it off that double overhook grip, but it is not exclusive to that. That'll work with the first grip. It'll work with underhooks, lots of different things, okay? And then especially in combination with different positions here, like let's say I go here and I kick this leg out, okay? I can bring this leg up and start to look for submissions as well. Same situation here. Guys, remember again, if you want to grab your own collar or make a cross collar on him or play with grabbing the belt, that's fine, okay? I'll go with the belt for fun right now. All right, so one other problem we're going to deal with a lot this week is when we go for different types of hook sweeps in this direction, okay? He's always going to be simply trying to post so I don't knock him over. It's not always going to be as dramatic as him standing up to his feet. So very simply put, when I go here, he could post his elbow even. Okay, that'll stop me. More dramatic, he could bring his hand all the way out. And now I can't complete a sweep this way, all right? Now, if he's not standing, okay, we can't overhead sweep him, whatever the case is, can't do the short hook sweep. We can always look to instead switch our grip on this side. A lot of cases when he's posting, it'll be an underhook, okay? And then switch our overhook back here. Okay. So essentially, guys, you're just resetting the whole position on the other side when you do this, okay? So when I get the underhook, I'll go flat and get butterfly hooks, and then I'll start to turn to my other hip, and now we just hit the first sweep again. This is a concept that you guys really want to start to take away once you start to understand butterfly guards, and especially the Sumi Gaeshi, okay? It's gonna kind of lead into the next thing. When we go to sweep, if we ever do lose the post, okay, we can always look to, again, switch grips to things like underhooks, and then just redirect the sweep back to the other side. So on that same like misdirectional sweep here, okay, when I go to off balance, if it's my preference or it's just not a possibility, get the underhook, whatever the case is, we don't necessarily need to do that. We can also use a collar tie here, okay? So forearm tight to the neck, turn sides. That's also a very good option here. Because if they start getting on top of you, like really putting weight in, okay, guys, remember, you should still have the ability to do this as long as your hips are free and you can put your feet on the floor, which is almost impossible not to do at this point. Okay, my feet are forced to the floor right now. Okay, so watch, no hands. I should have the ability to hip escape in either direction, okay? Now, this will go into like almost a separate class at one point. Okay, let's sit back up. Now this is a little bit different if Ulysses is able to lock his hands in a body lock. Okay, if he drives me flat here. This is why body lock passing is so effective. So if he pinches his elbows really tight and really sucks that in, now you can't move your hips because your hips are isolated, all right? So whenever this is the case and you guys want to return to butterfly attacks here, you're gonna have to use what we call like a forward shift here. So you're really gonna have to scoot in and then bring the legs away so you can try to reset back to this position. And here, this isn't a huge deal if we can make it back here even though he has his hands locked. Yeah, a lot of the same things are still going on. But we're gonna offer up a third direction, which is this way, all right? So we went this way, we went this way, okay? Now we're going overhead, okay? Why go overhead versus switching sides, okay? There could be a few different reasons, okay? One of the biggest ones is pretty much the same thing. If he drives into me so overly aggressive, okay, we can get a pretty decent weight load this way, okay? Comparing that to reverse E-guard especially. Hence why the main, aside from, you know, restrictions, hence why that was the main sweep there, okay? And then remember the other root problem here, guys, okay? All of his weight's into this hand. So going that way, very difficult, all right? So what we're gonna do when we feel these situations is we're just gonna control his wrist here, okay? We're gonna start to lay back again, but we're not trying to lay in this orientation. We're laying more like straight backwards as we scoot in and start to pull him on top, okay? Now, once I do that, okay, I'm trying to take him over my right shoulder. This is still a back roll sweep. So you guys see, my knee is less on the floor and more facing the ceiling because I need to make like a catapult action this way, okay? So here, hook sweep, Sumi Gaeshi here. Okay. This one, here, scooting in, falling straight back, making the drive leg. So we went this way, we went this way, we went this way. Okay, now we're gonna go under our partner when this happens, okay? So any of these situations, especially him posting this hand, okay? When I go to sweep him, it'd be like 4 points here, okay? Both hands and his feet. All right, this is gonna be really tough with any sort of sweep. It's still possible to do things like get the leg out with a short hook, but if he's really solid here, okay, it's very probable that that movement will fail us. So when this happens, when I want to start to switch to attacking his legs, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to release the overhook, and I'm going to switch to like a side control frame here. Okay, now I'm just going to have this hand blocking his arm so he's not reaching for any loose cross faces or anything. This is very minor. This is major. Okay, now we're still going to use that drive leg on the floor like we did when we were sweeping. The purpose this time though is not to sweep him, but rather to bring him over me, okay? So I'm going to use my right foot and both of my frames to start to bring his head over mine, okay? Once that happens, we're going to switch to thumb posts and the armpits, okay? A lot of these things we can do fluidly, but for now we're just going to form like a very strong, like almost leg lock headquarters position here. So I'm going to bring in both butterfly hooks, okay? For now, we're going to stay attacking on the same side. We have the butterfly hook, so that's my left side. So when I want to go that way, the way I steer myself is switching from thumb posts to the lat frames here, okay? That way I can bring myself out to the side. Once I bring myself out to the side, I'm going to make an overhook here. You can make underhooks too, okay? But if you're not sure, let's stick with the overhook. It's going to be a little bit stronger, okay? Bring my leg through, and then from here we can switch to multiple forms of X guard. If you don't know what to do or you're not comfortable here yet, just bring this foot to the hip and pinch your knees and go to single leg X, okay? For those of you that are more experienced, if you want to open that bottom knee and go to X guard, that's fine, especially if you like to wrestle up, okay? Especially if you're more into saddle too, we can always switch our feet and go to reverse X. And again, start to load up here for some leg lock entries too. So if you ever want to get better at this, you can literally just drill this by having your partner stand, laying on your back, making your butterfly hooks, and just bringing your legs through to different positions here. So off of any of these situations, I get a big reaction here, okay? It's 4 pointed. I'm going to let go of the overhook, frame under the neck, okay? Now again, I'm using my drive leg on the bottom here to help engage my hips and my frame so I can pull them overhead. Once I pull them overhead, I'll get my thumb posts, both butterfly hooks. I'm going to lat frame, overhook on that same side knee, drive my leg through. And again, if you're not sure what to do, just stick with a really basic single leg X guard here, okay? Otherwise, if you want to go to X guard or reverse X, okay, feel free. Now we have multiple directions of sweeps. We have multiple configurations of leg locks here too, okay? So for that last one, again, especially if you're a little more advanced, all right, we can then run into situations here where, okay, maybe you go for one side and he kicks his leg back or sprawls, okay? There's nothing to say that we can't just switch to the other side, okay? It's not always required that we have to go to like an X guard position, right? So if you guys ever choose to, when you bring your partner overhead here, okay, and you lat frame across, we can always look to grab our partner's leg, invert north-south, and go straight to saddle. When to get up here, when to wrestle up, okay? So this is gonna take us pretty much out of the configuration of the entire class, okay? The whole class, we were like parallel with each other, okay? Which, again, gives me the ability to put my weight underneath them. Now, this is actually a pretty smart counter for the top person, okay? When I go to sweep them, He's actually just going to take his two knees and realign them to the outside. Right. And when he does that, I'm no longer underneath him, and if you don't react quickly, pretty quickly here, you can kick off this butterfly hook and start passing your guard. Yeah. Alright, so when this happens, I'm actually just going to advance my overhook here. Okay, make this a stronger whizzer by grabbing my own hamstring. Okay. Now, very important here. Okay, Ulysses can still build height, but yeah, see, I don't have a ton of pressure on that yet. So guys, I'm not holding it here. As you come up, this is very important. This is a simple movement, but it's all predicated on this. As I come up, I need to bring all my pressure this way. Okay? So that I have really tight downward pressure with my shoulder. So now if he tries to build height, as long as I turn my head this way, it's very, very difficult with all that weight on the shoulder. It's like he's being omoplata or okay? And once I get a good feel for that pressure, that's when I build the habit of coming up. Okay? Now, let's talk about kind of the order of operations here. There's a lot of different ways to attack them straight away here, but also take note, you still have this butterfly hook in. So if you get too overexcited for something like a guillotine, for example, or any front headlock attack, okay, and we fall back too early, okay, this foot's still inside, okay? And basically most things are good here. So guys, I'm really gonna recommend that as soon as you get up here, you make it your first order to take this foot out, and then go for your front headlock, okay? And then once you have both of your legs free there, it's going to be easier to do everything you guys want to do. Any front headlock submissions, spinning around to their back, okay, so on and so forth, even flying submissions. This time is that I'm going to sweep Ulysses, but he realigns his weight to the side away from the wall. Okay. Yeah, see, there's no way out. Okay. So again, I'm going to grab my own leg, and I'm going to start to externally rotate here at 45 degrees, so I can put a lot of pressure down on the shoulder. Okay. As I do that, I hit ice up, I kick this leg back, and then I can start connecting to whatever things I want to do here. Okay. If I'm building height more than him, okay, my head's higher, right? We could, again, look to make this hook connect to triangles and omoplatas. Okay. If I have better timing there, or, you know, again, he's just a jiu-jitsu guy, he's not wrestling up, okay? It can be an easier thing here to step around in the bar. Just take his back. Okay, he's stepping over the back here and looking for things like omoplata, monoplata, or even some situations here where you go to arm locks. Sorry.